All right, so what we're looking at is we're looking at writing this analysis paper for the giver. And we have a focus question that's already been given to you. So go ahead and close your computers, but you can make notes on your outline page if you need to. This PowerPoint is up on Blackboard for you. Okay. When we started reading this novel, we understood that the focus question for this analysis paper was, when do rules and rituals become detrimental to personal freedoms? In other words, the rules and the rituals have created problems to me making my own individual choice. And that's what you're that's what you were supposed to be looking for as you read the book. That's what your sticky notes are supposed to be addressing. We know that an analysis paper is an interpretation of meaning rather than the meaning itself. And there are limits to this interpretation because you have to be able to support it with evidence that a reasonable reader finds plausible or believable. So when I read your evidence to support your assertion or your analysis, I can go, that makes sense. In other words, you're dealing with your opinion based on what you read of the focus question as long as you support it. This is a formal paper, and one of the things you're going to note is what requirements are going to be in place in order for it to be a formal academic paper. Each paper looks the same, but it sounds different because of the way you phrase the wording, and also which evidence and examples you choose will be your own opinion. But the format of the paper, everybody's will look exactly the same. And the focus question will be the same, so it'll have some similarities. We never write in first person or second person. We always write formal academic papers in third person. So there should be no I's or no U's in the paper. That can be very difficult to do if you're not used to it. So the best thing to do is just to write your first draft the way you would write it, and then during the revision process, go back and clean up the I's and the U's. Does that make sense? So don't get hung up, oh, I wrote an I. Just write it. But when you revise it, we got to clean it up. Okay? We never use contractions in academic papers or pronouns by themselves. What I mean is you can use Jonas and the giver were working hard together when they. That is correct, but we don't want to say they were working hard together. Make sense? Okay. No contractions. Cannot, would not, should not, did not, do not. No, didn't, wouldn't, shouldn't, couldn't. Okay? Use the writing process. We're going to do that. And all text references must include quotation marks and page numbers in parentheses. So when you write your first draft and you insert the quotation from the book, make sure in parentheses behind it has the page number. Make this note, please. P period, and it's a little p. And then the number. That's all you put. Because you only have one source, this novel. You don't have multiple sources. Okay, writing the introduction. If you look at your outline, you will know, and you know this from writing before, that it is the first paragraph lays the story out to the reader. The first sentence is a grabber sentence or a striking statement that's going to entice the reader. You want to bring them along and go, read me, read me, read me. You want it to be like a neon sign flashing. Okay? The next 2 to 3 sentences is a brief gist of the story. Gist is little different than a main idea in the fact that it's a little bit longer. But think main idea. What was this story about? And I have 2 to 3 sentences to tell my reader, because you have to assume that the person reading your analysis has never read the book. So I need a little bit of an idea of what this story is about prior to reading your analysis paper. Do not give away the ending in the gist. You can say Jonas grabs the little boy Gabriel and runs away from the community, but you don't want to tell me what happens. The final sentence is your thesis statement. In this case, the thesis statement is the focus question. Okay? But it's rewritten. Now, we've got this on your outline. You've already got it there. So like the essay itself, the thesis can be simplistic or sophisticated. Our thesis follows a formula. If something is not stated in the thesis, it doesn't belong in your paper. The biggest mistake students make when writing an analysis is they just retell the story. That's the biggest mistake kids make when they write an analysis. And what will happen is I will go through your paper. I will put at the top of the page in big bold letters, this is a retelling, start over. And that's the only feedback you're going to get from me. And it'll probably say, see me. Be really careful you're not retelling the story. You're going to focus specifically on rules and rituals. It's focused, it's concise, so your thesis statement will give you a greater chance of communicating clearly. You will see on your outline that you have the formula in place for you. So it should say, in The Giver, Lois Lowry uses a system of rules and rituals to, and then you have to decide which verb you want to use. To show, to criticize, to explain, to demonstrate, to provide, to prove. You have to pick one. Some aspect of human nature. This is where everybody's thesis is going to vary. Think about theme. What kind of theme do we see in this book? Does she use a system of rules and rituals to demonstrate a strong bond between friends? Probably not. So it's probably not a good theme. So you have to think about what it is we're addressing in the paper. So everything that you talk about is going to deal with a system of rules and rituals and whatever you put here. Okay? Notice the second part of the thesis begins with the word to, and it identifies theme. Here might be an example of a thesis for another novel that you're going to read next year. In To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee uses the false accusation of a black man to show how prejudicial beliefs can divide people in a community. My entire essay then is going to deal with the analysis of these false accusations, what happened in the community that got people to the point to make these false accusations or believe them, and how it divided people in this community. In other words, part of the community thought the man was guilty, part of the community thought the man should go free, was innocent, because there's a trial involved. Okay? All right, before we talk about writing the body of the paper, I want to stop